to Peppa Pig World. I don't know if you've been to Peppa Pig World. Who's been to? Hands up anyone who's been to Peppa Pig World? Not enough. I was a bit hazy what I would find at Peppa Pig World, but I loved it. And Peppa Pig World is very much my kind of place. But the real lesson for me going to Peppa Pig World, and I'm surprised you haven't been there. Forgive me. Forgive me. Forgive me. People will have the confidence to build back fever, I say. Build back fever, and build back burger.
That is the name of the game. It's not about...
You lied to the people of London in your election.
Get stuffed.
I think get stuffed.
Can I call on you to withdraw that remark, Matt?
Yeah.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my new video. I hope you enjoyed my little clip show of Boris Johnson. As you can see, Boris Johnson doing his best to impersonate Benny Hill. He thinks he's Churchill, but in fact he's more Benny Hill than Churchill. And we are lucky enough to have him as Prime Minister, and I'm saying that with my most sarcastic voice. So luckily for us, he is not going to last much longer, and he's literally on his last legs. A lot of Tories backbenchers want him out. His own party wants him out. So if Boris stays, Tories will definitely lose the next election, or maybe the Labour Party isn't that much better, to be honest. So I'm not really sure. One thing's for sure, even if Boris leaves, there's not really many good candidates out there to lead Britain out of this economic hurdle. I got a feeling it's going to be Liz Truss who's going to be taking over, and Liz Truss is 100 times worse than Boris. I mean, you can see every time she opens her mouth, she causes an international incident. They're not going to be calling her Benny Hill, they'll be calling her Penny Hill. I'm not really happy with Liz Truss coming in, to be honest, but we'll see what happens. I am pleased that Boris is going. If he doesn't resign himself, he will be kicked out very, very soon. But it doesn't really solve Britain's problems. Britain has put itself in this position. It really, literally has shot itself in the foot with regards to Brexit, with regards to all of these COVID policies, now with regards to all of these ridiculous sanctions on Russia. So Britain has pretty much put itself in this spot, and whoever takes over is not really gonna do anything better, to be honest. I don't think Boris knows what he's doing to get this country out of this economic hurdle or recession. I just don't think there's anybody skillful enough to do that, to be honest. So it's just looking bad for England at the moment. Like I said, you're just getting rid of the idiot, and another idiot will just replace him. The policies will still stay the same. They're still going to be having all of these ridiculous sanctions against Russia. Still going to be sending weapons and money to Ukraine. You know, they're still going to be anti-Chinese, anti-Russian, anti-Muslim. You know, policies are never going to change. It's still going to be the same. So I don't really have too much hopes for Britain at the moment. Anyway, let's move on. You can see 500,000 small businesses in Britain could go bust. So these are like stats coming out. The government is being called to provide support. A lot of businesses who have taken a lot of loans out during the pandemic, and they haven't really had that much support, and now the interest rates have gone up and they're having to pay back a lot of the loans. A lot of the businesses will go bankrupt. There's also serious trade shortages, labor shortages, supply chain problems, raw materials, oil prices, everything's going up. So businesses are really struggling to survive at the moment, and especially with the Brexit as well, there's so many trade barriers as well. So I can see a lot of businesses going bankrupt. A lot of people are going to be living in the streets over the next few months. I'm not just talking about businesses, I'm also talking about ordinary people who can't afford to pay rent, who can't afford to pay for the bills, can't afford to pay for heating, can't afford to pay for the food. I'm also seeing reports that food banks are running out, and these food banks are given to people who are very poor, who can't afford to pay for food and stuff, and so that is also running out as well. So it's not looking very good for Britain, unfortunately. Despite all of the problems in Britain, they are still sending these cutting-edge long-range missiles to Ukraine to hit Russia. And I just think it's a really, really bad idea. And even Putin has threatened to take action if any of these missiles hit Russian territory. So look at it this way, guys. Look at it this way. Say America, in the past when they're fighting Iraq, say Russia was sending Iraqi insurgencies, long-range missiles and stuff, and these missiles were used to destroy American bases all over Iraq and Middle East. What do you think America would do? They will start a war with Russia. No doubt about it. So this is exactly what's happening now. You have America, you have Britain sending these long-range weapons to Ukraine. What do you think will happen when some of these missiles end up blowing up Russian cities? Russia will take this as an act of war. They're not going to go and attack America, because that's a different kettle of fish. I think they're going to attack Britain, because Britain is the little poodle where is basically doing the bidding for the Americans, and if you just punch the nose of the little poodle, that's one way to shut them up. And Britain is unilaterally doing this without NATO approval, without other European countries' approval. So if Britain's missiles actively attack Russian cities, Russia will take that as an act of war. And they could start attacking British interests, Britain military bases all over Europe. And they have bases in near Odessa. I think there's a couple of naval bases in Odessa which are owned by the British. But I'm talking about British ships that could be sailing around the Black Sea. There could be Britain outposts around Eastern Europe. There could be a lot of British military interest in Europe and around Europe, which Russia might look to attack. And even if Russia attacks these military bases in Britain, they will have every right to do so, because Britain's weapons are being used to attack Russian cities. So they got to do what they can, and this is just going to escalate. And when you provide these weapons to a country and you escalate the war, Putin does not mess around. Putin has said that if these, even if he attacks Crimea, we will take firm action. And even if it does, what's NATO gonna do? NATO's a defensive organization. Britain's gonna be crying to NATO saying, "Oh, look, Russia attacked us. Why did you send these weapons in the first place then?" It's Britain that's being aggressive, not Russia. Russia's not sending weapons to attack Britain. Britain's sending weapons to attack Russia. So Russia's got every right to attack Britain back if these weapons hit Russia. But then again, they might not even reach the battleground, to be honest. And I mean, look at the size of them. For these to be traveling around Ukraine, you can see them a mile away. Russia has drones, Russia has satellite imagery. If they see any of these weapons traveling around Ukraine, they would be taken out very, very easily. But just in case they do attack Russian cities, then things will really escalate. And also Britain is also sending these Ukrainian troops to be trained in these weapons as well. You can see here, Ukrainian troops will come to the UK to learn how to use the weapon, which is manned by a crew of 3 and mounted on a tracked armoured launcher. So first of all, you know, to learn how to use these equipment fully, you got to understand that a lot of these Ukrainian soldiers, English is not their first language. So all of these weapon systems that Britain is sending, it's not going to be in the Ukrainian language. It's going to be in the British language, and all of these Ukrainian guys coming over to Britain. You know, how are these army guys going to train some Ukrainian guys who don't even have English as their first language? You know, English is their second language probably. So a lot of them are not going to be understanding it very well. So that means it's going to take them longer to train. And I'm pretty sure that, you know, some of these weapon systems, you need years and years of training. For example, NATO has been training the Azovs and other Ukrainian military now for 8 years. 8 years they've been training them. And it's not, you know, training to use a specific weapon, or, you know, it takes years of practice. Not only do you have to learn how to use it, but you also need to learn what to do when things go wrong, or if a part is broken, or is a part, you know, it's not working as it should. You know, you need to be able to fix it. You need to be able to do a lot with it, and, you know, it takes years and years of practice. It's not something you can learn overnight. And Britain is only sending 3. I mean, what is 3 gonna do? And most of them probably will be destroyed on the way to the battlefield, to be honest. Same with America. There's America sending 4, so 7 in total. And let's say that half of them are destroyed on the way to the battlefield, on the roads, or if they start taking on the tracks. You know, half of them will probably be destroyed. 1 or 2 of them won't be able to use. They won't be able to use it because they won't know how to use it. They'll probably get lost, or things might get jammed, and, you know, most of them will probably be taken out by the Russians. They're just easy targets. Like I said, you need a crew of 3. So imagine 3 guys trying to work these systems, and suddenly Russia sees it from a distance using a drone or satellite imagery. Russia can send a missile there within seconds. You know, these 3 guys will be taken out. You just have to look at the Ministry of Defense you know, briefing that Russia sends every single day. So let's look at yesterday, shall we? So this is from today's briefing, and you can see here, high precision long range based missiles of the Russian aerospace have destroyed industrial buildings. They have also destroyed 4 command posts, 15 areas of Ukrainian manpower. They have hit 73 areas of manpower and military equipment. They have killed more than 150 nationalists, 3 missile artillery depots and 1 fuel depot. They have shot down 1 Su-29 aircraft, and also they have hit 431 areas of manpower and military equipment. And if you go further down, you can see here, so far they have destroyed 473 multiple launch rocket systems, 473, and Britain and US is looking to send 7 in total between themselves. It's not going to make much difference. If 473 have been already destroyed, you know, 7 is not going to make much difference at all. And they're just escalating the war for no apparent reason. All of this is going to do is affect peace talks, and it's just going to piss off the Russian. The Russians have already said they're going to close the US embassy because of this, and it's just not looking good at all. So let's look at the latest update given by the Russians, and this I thought was quite interesting. So the fighters in Donetsk, they're basically surrounding the territory under the onslaught of the Russian units. The remnants of the battalions of the 95th and the 81st Brigade of the AFU is cut off from the main forces and supplies by blowing up the bridge, abandoned their military equipment along with their weapons, and dispersed along the coast. Up to 80 Ukrainian soldiers swam across the river. They were not specifically targeted by Russian servicemen. So what's happening here is all of the Ukrainian soldiers are being surrounded all over Donetsk, under Severodonetsk, and you can see these guys are basically abandoned their weapons, abandoned their equipment, and just swam across the river because the Russians have been blowing up bridges and cutting them off from other forces. And they're doing that slowly by slowly. This is their cauldron. This is how the Russians work. And Ukrainians can't take much more of this. You know, they really can't. They are losing so much equipment. They are losing so many people. They are losing so many servicemen. They are losing so much money. They really can't go on like this at all. Meanwhile, in the diplomatic arena, things are not going well. During the UN discussion, you have that Michel Rodriguez guy. Sorry, I mean just Michel. He was basically talking about Russian aggression, and he's just talking this crap. You know that woman who got sacked in the Ukrainian human rights offices? So this Michel guy is basically taking her stories and he's talking a lot of crap. He's saying Russians are using sexual violence, they're raping, pillaging villages and all of that crap without any evidence whatsoever. And he basically stood up in front of the UN and saying all of these lies. And the Russian UN envoy basically just stormed out. You know, he's like, you know what, I've had enough of this. Because, you know, the lady who was actually making all of these allegations is actually got sacked, you know, in Ukraine. She's the human rights specialist. And only a few days ago she got sacked because of these ridiculous stories and claims. And now Michel is basically using the exact same stories and claims. And I just found it absolutely hilarious. I mean, these guys are an absolute joke. I mean, you got Michel, you got Ursula. Total joke. Total joke. They need to be kicked out as soon as possible. These guys are causing so much damage to the international arena. They have no idea how to be diplomats. And then you got these articles coming out. Ukraine's position has worsened a little in Severodonetsk fighting. So can you see the wording they're using? Oh, Ukraine's position has only worsened just a little bit, nothing to worry about. They will still win, don't worry, they will still win. You know, yeah, a little bit of a setback. They probably lost thousands of troops and thousands of equipment. You know, they're basically, so many people are surrendering, they're losing so much land, but don't worry, it's only worsened a little bit. Ukraine will still win, don't worry guys. You know, seriously, some of these papers are still, you know, basically playing the same tune over and over again. When will they ever learn? You know, you got one or two papers who are now looking at the truth and thinking, hang on a second, all of these stories we're talking about, Russia is losing, Ukraine is winning, maybe it's not true. Maybe we need to start writing something decent, otherwise people are just going to lose all respect and, you know, they're not going to buy our papers anymore. So we need to start writing something decent. No, some of these papers are still going on with these ridiculous lies. You know, when are they going to learn? You know, it's seeing these stories like this still, it just makes me want to laugh. So you got this article here. Secretary of State Blinken says Russia is stealing Ukrainian grain to sell around the world in a plot to blackmail the West into lifting sanctions. So he's basically saying that Russia is selling stolen Ukrainian grain. So this is very, very rich coming from Blinken, coming from Americans, right? So only a couple of weeks ago, they stole an Iranian tanker full of oil. They stole that oil as pirates. So they stole it and probably sold it back to the Europeans. And then they're stealing Syrian oil as well. They're stealing Syrian oil. You know, these guys, Blinken, you know, he's really rich to say that Russia is stealing Ukrainian grain when America has been stealing and pirating oil for years now. You know, it's really, really rich coming from that guy. Biden himself is having serious economic issues in America. If there is one leader who is under a lot of stress, it is Biden. He is literally, I don't know, it looks like he's a dead man walking. I don't know how he lives with all of this stress, you know, in his old age. I just don't know how he does it. So he recently declared US energy emergency, and you can see here the nation's ability to provide sufficient electricity is under threat, partly because of the Russian-Ukrainian conflict, the president says. No, Mr. Biden, it's mainly down to yourselves. You know, mainly down to your ridiculous foreign policy and your wokeness. You know, this is all down to Biden and his own policy. You know, inflation, the cost of gas prices, oil prices was rising well before the Ukrainian war. Well before. And you can see here, US gasoline prices doubled under Biden. Doubled. And now they've hit another all-time high. And like I said, you know, the oil prices and gas prices will start to shoot up again. Because I said to you that the Chinese lockdown has ended now, pretty much. You know, it's back to, you know, things are going back to normal in China. So which means there's going to be a lot more demand for oil and gas. So things will start rising again. And you can see here, the morale of Biden and his staff is plummeting. And I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. Apparently, there's a lot of finger pointing going on in the admin, saying, oh, it's your fault, it's your fault. And you can see the president and his aides are growing frustrated with the onslaught of unsolved challenges, according to the media outlet. And morale is going down. They're unable to solve all of these issues domestically and abroad. And you can see here there's a lot of finger pointing going on in the White House, saying, no, it's your fault, no, it's your fault. So you have all of these neocons finger pointing each other. And, you know, I love to be a fly on the wall in the White House and see what they're saying. But this is all down to them. They put themselves in this position. You know, they could have avoided all of this. All of this they could have avoided. So they're making some steps now. They're saying that now US may roll back some of the tariffs they put on Chinese goods. So if you guys can remember, America had placed a lot of tariffs on Chinese goods. This was back in the Trump days. And he did it to basically cut down the surge in trade balance between America and China. Unfortunately, it hasn't really worked because the trade balance between the two countries has even gone bigger. So they are buying a lot more goods from China, even with these tariffs. And Biden could have easily come in. You know, Biden has basically promised to get rid of these tariffs during his election. And he promised, you know, as soon as he comes to power, these tariffs are not working, he'll get rid of them. As soon as he came into power, he completely forgot about them. And his useless Trade Secretary, Catherine Tai, said at the time, I remember she said at the time, these trade tariffs are working, so we're not going to get rid of them. That's what she said. Well, they're not working. If she looked at her own results, she would have seen that the trade balance was increasing year on year. You know, this woman, she doesn't know what the hell she's talking about. So anyway, they kept these trade tariffs, and they couldn't really get rid of them because a lot of neocons in America, and obviously they're very anti-Chinese, and if they get rid of these tariffs, it shows that America is weak. And you know, and so these tariffs stayed in place. They didn't really get rid of it. But China has moved on. They don't really care about the tariffs anymore. They've moved on. They are diversifying to other markets. They're not, you know, they are buying less and less goods from America. America tried to force China to buy a lot more goods as part of the trade deal. But China says, you know what, forget it. You know, if you're not going to reduce the tariffs, if you're not going to reduce these ridiculous trade tariffs, we're not going to buy much stuff from you. So they are diversifying. They're buying, you know, soybeans from Argentina. They are buying a lot more agricultural stuff from Russia. So the reliance is less and less in America at the moment. And also China's buying more stuff from Russia as well, in terms of LNG, gas, oil. In the past, China was buying a lot of LNG from America. That's reducing. Agricultural goods is reducing. So all of these tariffs are all they are doing is pushing the Chinese away to other markets. It's not really helping the American consumers. The American consumers having these tariffs on board means they have to pay more for these goods, and they normally put these charges onto the American consumer, which means increases the inflation. So all of this stuff is basically too little too late. It's not going to make any difference to the inflation because all of these steps are just too late now. They could have easily have got rid of these tariffs way back, you know, last year. They let it carry on, drag on and drag on. They've increased the inflation, and they increased all of these costs of raw materials, supply chain. It's too late now. It's not going to make any difference if they roll back these tariffs. It might make a small difference to certain goods, but you know, if they get rid of these tariffs, only people that are going to be winning are the Chinese companies, because you know, more people will buy the Chinese goods because they're cheaper. And it's just ridiculous. American policies, they just don't have a clue what's going on around the world. So now I'm coming to the end of the video, and my idiot of the day has to go to Poland. And I just laughed when I saw this article. Poles may forage for wood to heat homes. Citizens are given permission to collect branches from forests amid soaring energy costs. So one hand you got Poland basically saying, oh, we stand with Ukraine, we're gonna ban Russian gas, we're gonna ban Russian oil, blah blah blah. You know, they basically giving all of that, you know, standing with Ukraine and all of that virtue signaling. And then on another hand, they're saying to all of their Polish citizens, oh, by the way, you might freeze this winter, so make sure you go to the woods, cut some trees, and keep that wood in your house to keep yourself warm and keep yourself alive. Absolutely hilarious and ridiculous at the same time. Anyway, that's all I have time for, guys. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care for now.